There he is.
Dear,
What?
hang on a sec. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
amazing. I couldn't hear you. I have to do this weird thing on my app where I have to kind of go out of the app and come back in, or I can't hear anyone. It's really weird.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Everything is perfect. I wore
Ooh.
a special t-shirt for this occasion, but I've got to
Oh,
keep it from the
hi.
neck up. I feel like I'm kind of really low cut. I feel very uncomfortable.
Oh, but you've got sleeves and everything.
I know. I do feel quite excited about that. My arms are very happy to have sleeves.
Oh, well, I'm quite excited about this one. So, as much as I wish I could say that I sort of came up with this idea myself, it actually came from a question from Rianne on a different live.
Right?
It was basically, she asked, have you ever had a client who sort of self-sabotages due to their limiting beliefs? And if so, what effective methods have you found to sort of get over that? And we sort of spoke about, people who see themselves as the fat kid or the fat person in the group, and then that almost limits them to being that. And if that's how they perceive themselves, they're starting from a negative already.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
It's a really interesting one, and I think something that a lot more people suffer from than they would perhaps admit. I know that what's really interesting. Hello, Erin. Happy birthday to you. I found when I was growing up, I'd often look at old pictures of myself and think, oh my God, I thought I was really fat then. I'm really fat now, but I wasn't actually that fat then. So maybe if I had just not really thought that much about how fat I was, I wouldn't have then got fatter.
what?
Right. Let me explain. So I would often think, oh, I'm really overweight. I need to do something about it. I need to fix it. But then I would be like, oh, maybe it's just, it's just kind of where I'm at. It's just, it's my natural size or whatever, what a lot of people say. And then I would look back at photos of myself from that time when I would have said that and realize that actually I wasn't overweight at that time, but I am now. It's almost like sometimes I think you will it into existence. You hold, someone makes a couple of jokes that you're a little bit chubby or something, and then you kind of almost build this persona for yourself that's who you are or what you are. And you not only don't improve it, but you grow into it even more. You become more entrenched in that thing. um, and we see it with a lot of stuff that people identify with, whether it's their dietary beliefs, being overweight, their appearance, other kind of aspects of their lifestyle, like veganism or religion or whatever. And it's like the more that people make little comments about things, or the more that they kind of think about those little things, the more that aspect of them starts to define who they are as a person. And it can become quite difficult, I think, to admit that you even want to change, because you're not just saying goodbye to something that is damaging you or unhealthy or whatever. You're saying goodbye to essentially your whole persona.
Yeah, I guess a good example, which is slightly different, is like you said, like veganism.
Yeah,
If say I built my whole online, my hashtag was Emma the vegan and like at Emma vegan recipes,
yeah,
and they decided they don't want to be vegan
yeah,
anymore. And you've seen this, like it doesn't happen that often, but I'm sure I've seen cases where people have to, and they get like hate mail.
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Of
that
course, because
you,
they're letting everyone down, because they're no longer that poster child for that thing. And there've been times when I've sort of thought to myself, God, I'm eating a bit too much cake now. I need to rein it in. And then everyone will make these comments going, oh, where's all the ice cream on your Insta stories? And I'm like, well,
yeah,
and then I'm like, oh no, maybe I should eat more ice cream. You start questioning all these things you're doing. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But you do kind of, you get stuck in these little, it's like the things that you do become who you are, which is insane, but
mhm.
we all do it.
And I guess in terms of like weight loss, we often see that people might lose a little bit of weight and then they self sabotage and
Yeah,
don't maybe they don't quite believe that they could be
yeah,
lean or even just of a healthy weight.
Yeah.
And it's how you, like, have you found with anyone you've worked with or anyone you help at work that, like, any tricks that you found that sort of help them? Because for me, I've really just, a lot of people say, oh, you need to work on the mindset first. Are you ready to change? And there's these stages of change.
Yeah.
But I think that actually focusing on mindset first, I tend to think they come together. So
Definitely.
yeah, just start and think, I don't think this diet's going to work. I've always been overweight, or blah, blah, blah. Like, you've got these limiting beliefs. And then you need a bit of proof that, okay, actually, I am starting to lose weight. I feel good about myself. It wasn't as hard as I thought.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. Like, then you start to buy into it and your mindset changes slightly. And
exactly.
It's a slow process, but that's how I've seen progress work.
Yeah.
A lot of people will say, no, you need to do your mindset first.
Yeah. I totally agree, because I think the thing is, you can't just tell somebody that they can do something and they'll suddenly believe you, because chances are they've tried it 100 or 1,000 times before and it hasn't worked, and that's part of the reason that they're in the position that they are now. And I think that the proof is in the pudding, and actually if you just focus on helping them make some improvements, those improvements are what's going to motivate them to think that they can do more. And the hurdles really are when those improvements plateau. So every time that they have an episode, or they have a blip on their diet, or they have a kind of a period of time when they're not making progress, that's when the beliefs start to kick in, and they start to go, oh, who am I kidding? I can't do this. Like, I can't believe, how stupid was I to think that this was something that I could do, or to think that I can be, one of those people who goes to the gym all the time, or one of those people who is a certain size. And really it's about kind of getting them past those moments and continuing to believe that they can make little improvements. And that's why I think it's so important not to suddenly go to somebody, oh, do you know what, actually, I think that you who is a completely inactive couch potato, who's very overweight and has never done any exercise in their life, I think you should do a gym photo shoot in a little while, or something like that. Like, that's not going to be what's going to motivate them, because it's overwhelming. Whereas if you go, do you know what, actually, why don't the thing that worked for me when I first began was somebody suggesting me trying a certain way of dieting, which was counting calories. And I was questioning it and saying, look, this seems too simple. It seems like I'm going to be eating too many calories, blah, blah, blah. All the things that, that I bet you've heard hundreds of times before. And they just said to me, look, do this for 2 weeks. See what happens to your weight. If nothing happens to your weight, then I will walk away and, I will say you were right and you can carry on doing what you're doing. If you lose any weight, then carry on doing it and see where it goes. And that was literally the switch, because after 2 weeks, I'd lost 1 kilo. And then after another 2 weeks, I'd lost another kilo. And then after another 2 weeks, I'd lost another kilo. And it was just, and that was the most motivation I ever needed, or it was all the motivation I needed at that time to just carry on doing it. And it was only then, when I started to plateau later on, those were the bits where I wobbled and where I was like, oh, what's going on here? Am I just going to end up yo-yoing? I lived in fear for a long time that I was just going to, oh yeah, this is all great. Everyone's really impressed by how much weight I've lost, but where am I going to be next year? Where am I going to be the year after? Statistically, I'm almost definitely going to end back where I started.
I think in some ways, like, the fact that you're very educated and you sort of know the stats, and it almost sort of hinders you, because you're like, well, on average, anyone that starts dieting is going to fail on their diet. So
I'm screwed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you'll see it like, oh, there's no point dieting because this study shows that you're going to fail. And, on average, people do fail on diets, but it doesn't mean it's average.
Yeah, exactly. And it's about just encouraging people to believe that they can make changes, but also that they don't need to make huge changes, that they don't need to turn the whole life around, that even the smallest of changes can have huge benefits, whether they're still the same size that they were. They might be, they might improve their blood pressure a little bit, or they might improve other health markers, or they might just improve their physical activity, which, is going to improve health from other points of view as well. It doesn't have to be a huge transformation.
That's a huge point as well, that, even if you don't lose any weight, but you go from doing no exercise or even just no activity to some activity,
yeah,
the impact on your health is massive.
Exactly.
It's not even just sort of maybe personal trainers that don't know it, or other gym people that don't know it. Like, your mates might say, like, "Oh, why'd you bother going to the gym? You've not lost any weight."
Yeah.
It's like, not everyone's going there to lose weight, and actually,
exactly.
even if you don't lose any weight, the improvements to your health are massive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Someone says that they agree. They tried lots of things for weight loss, no success until I sat down and spoke with a personal trainer and started to improve. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that sort of initial consultation. Do you guys feel that the biggest hurdle for someone to lose weight is psychological?
I would say almost definitely.
Yeah.
Psychology and habit, basically, which go massively hand in hand. But yeah, it's such a huge aspect of it, because you've got to want to do it, because it's like actually the reality of it is that you do need to change things about your life, and everything that is comfortable about your life, you do have to kind of question and alter and try and improve on. And that can be hard work at times, and you do need some motivation to do it. And yeah, what would you say?
Well, I actually had someone message me the other day saying, like, my brother's really overweight. I really want to help him lose weight. I keep trying, I said I'd take him to the gym. I said I'll pay for him to go to a personal trainer. I said I'll do this, this, and this. And it's so hard because none of that's really going to help, because he's got to want it.
Mm.
And then how do you get someone to want it? And you can, there's little ways you can coax people, but to be honest, paying for him to use a personal trainer is not the way, because part of the reason personal trainers work, part of the reason anything you do works, is because you buy into it. And that doesn't have to be financially, but usually that's quite a good bet. Any free advice I've given out, barely anyone sticks to.
Yeah.
And it's a hard way through like years of giving out free advice. But if someone pays for that advice, they value it more and they'll listen to it.
Yeah.
And it's even like an example as well, is that say you've injured your leg and someone gives you some free advice to rest it, or you look up on the internet and you're like, oh, I should probably rest it. You're not going to listen to it. But when you've paid to go to a physio and they've £40 an hour, you need to rest it.
Yeah.
You can rest it, and
exactly.
you then bring that to the fact that the physio, is good at their job, and maybe that's kind of besides the point. But it's that investment in it that makes you stick to it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've always been quite in whether something would work. Like, I'd quite like to run a program where you have to pay, say it's £100 for 6 weeks. But if at the end of 6 weeks you've actually stuck to it, now I don't know how you'd prove that you have stuck to it, but you could win or earn that money back. So it is free, because like say that's run on the NHS or something, that it is free, but you need some kind of investment there.
Buy-in, yeah, exactly. We had actually, I used to go to an outdoor boot camp, and the guy that was running the boot camp ran this like 8-week thing where he was like, I can't remember, he said if we get to our target weight in the 8 weeks, if we lose whatever it was, I think it was like 4 kilos or something, then we get the money back. And
someone saying there's a spider behind
me. I am, because that's Aaron Davies. Do you know Aaron Davies?
I don't.
He's a terrible person, but also, he's not nice on purpose, because he thinks that being nice is a bad quality. And he's a very good trainer, actually, and he's a very mean human being. And it's his birthday today, so he's using that to trick me into thinking there's a spider behind me, which is not nice, is it, Aaron?
No.
Anyway, I despair. But as I was saying, so we had this challenge to try and lose this weight and get our money back, and all of us lost the weight, and all of us said no thanks to having our money back, because we didn't really want it back, because we were so happy with how we'd done. So that was very clever.
I think it's quite a savvy marketing tool as well, because you can be like, you can have the money back, but I mean,
or I could invest it into more equipment for the boot camp or whatever. Yeah. So yeah.
pay for that with the next block, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Like, there's savvy marketing ways to do it, but if someone actually did need the money back, and that's a way
exactly.
that.
Exactly. Yeah, that would certainly be an interesting one to see, because I find the buy-in thing quite interesting, because I've had a lot of I've often had coaches that I've paid for, but I've also had a lot of free help from friends, and actually when I was talking originally about the first person that helped me with weight loss, that was through Twitter. That was someone who I was chatting to on Twitter, who had randomly followed me. I wasn't kind of interested in fitness or anything at all, and their Twitter had auto posted their MyFitnessPal blog, and we kind of got chatting about it. And he was writing a fitness blog at the time, and basically just offered to help me, kind of as a mate with my calories and all that kind of stuff, and did. And that was really what kicked it in. So I think you have to have a buy-in, whether it's an emotional buy-in or a mental buy-in or whatever. It doesn't always have to be financial, but you have to want to do it. You can't just go up to a random person in the street who's overweight and go, mate, shall I help you lose weight? I don't think that would work.
It's harder, and people really, like, say a family member, it's like, oh, if my dad was really overweight, I'd be like, how am I going to motivate him? How do I get him to want to lose weight? And then you've kind of got to sit down with them and like maybe find what their trigger is. So even if it's, you're not doing this for yourself at the moment, but I want to spend time with you, and I want to improve your health, so do it for me for now. And people kind of like put down sort of external motivators as opposed to this like intrinsic motivation, which would be ideal if we all had this sort of burning desire inside to do things for ourselves for the sake of doing it for ourselves. But it needs to be something external. So if you can't do it for yourself, do it for someone else, do it for the people that you love, do it for whatever it is.
Oh, exactly. Like I'm a massive fan of external motivators, and they're really useful for when your motivation is low. Like I've had times when I've been struggling. In fact, the last 8 weeks, I was on Emil Project Goliath's plan through his Project Revitalization, and that was really because he was launching this program, and I said I'd do it as a kind of way to get him a testimonial and to do all of that kind of stuff. So having had a few months of really struggling to get back on track after Christmas, I suddenly had this reason to I've got to stick to this now, because I've got to do a decent kind of transformation so that I can do a decent testimonial. And that's put me back on track, and that 8 weeks is finished, and I've carried on the plan because I'm back on, I'm back in the groove of things. Whereas sometimes you just need an external motivator sometimes when your internal motivation is lacking, because you don't, willpower is a finite resource sometimes, and it sometimes does run out.
Yeah, definitely. So Focus Digital is a friend I know, and he has type 2 diabetes actually, but he sort of changed his life around, and he's got kids. He used to go from like, he'd just go and watch his kids like play on the park or whatever it was, and then now he's like, the last dad out there like playing around with his kids. So like there's a motivator for him. That was what he do, and he didn't want to be the dad that was like sitting at the side not joining in because he felt uncomfortable.
Exactly. And it's all about kind of that then ties in with the belief that you can actually, you can get to the point where you can do those things, because it's sometimes hard to get people to believe that they can be that kind of parent, because they feel like it's gone too far. They feel like they can't get back to, to that levels of, those levels of activity. And you in the same way that you kind of, you define yourself with your career, or with the fact that, how many times do people say, oh, I'm just really rubbish at DIY, or I'm just really rubbish at X or rubbish at Y. You're not,
that's an interesting one as well, because it completely changes depending on like who you're with.
Yeah.
So like, this isn't that good an example, but when I'm in Scotland, people think I'm English. Like, I'm given the English.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like in England, like I have to support England because I'm an outsider here, sort of thing. But when I'm in England, no, I'm Scottish.
Yeah.
like, and everyone, and it's sort of like where you're the odd one out,
Yeah.
or like something slightly different. So it totally depends on like who you're around. And same with the DIY thing. Like in some instances, I'd be like, "Oh no, I'm a girl. I didn't know anything about it. Can someone else do it?" And then in others, I'd be like, "No, I'm getting it done. Like I'll do it because I think
Yeah.
I can do it." But yeah, it just completely changes depending on who you're around.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
but in terms of fat loss, like, people will say, "Oh, cut out the negative people in your life," or cut out, you know, some people's advice might be, if all your friends, like if you're the fat friend, like get a load of new friends. But
Yeah.
I think that's probably a little extreme. And you can't, you know,
It's easier said than done as well. Like you can't, you can't just get rid of all of your mates. B, a lot of the time, like you hear a lot of this stuff about kind of haters and things, but sometimes people are trying to help you get back to the middle. Like we can mess up a little bit, and we can get a little bit over obsessive, and we can get a little bit too into certain things. And sometimes people who care about us and who have known us for a long time actually just want to help make sure that we're okay. And it's not about being haters. It's about saying, I've had these, people saying, we don't want you to think that it matters. We don't want you to think that you really need to be a certain body fat level. And it's great that, you've made lifestyle change, you've improved your health, but, you don't need to be like super lean. Like that's, and I'm like, yeah, I know, that's cool. And it's cool to listen. I think it's cool to welcome those views and to listen to other people's views who don't agree with you all the time, because otherwise that's when you become, extreme about a lot of things.
yeah. And with fitness, and like you can definitely surround yourself with people who are also into like extreme bodybuilding or whatever
Yeah.
you're doing. Then they all make that it seems completely normal, and
Yeah.
like they encourage each other to be so restrictive, and like all that matters is the gym and stuff. So I think it is really important to have friends out with fitness,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
or niche that just sort of ground you as well, and like remind you that actually you as a person matter, not like it doesn't really matter if you go to the gym today or not.
Yeah, exactly. And I've had friends of mine that have said to me in the past, "Oh, I feel like it was kind of our fault that you got really overweight, because we used to always eat all the time." And I was like, "Yeah, but that is still my decision to
Yeah.
to
Or
yeah, exactly. Like it wasn't no one, but then at the same time, sometimes when I meet up with old friends of mine, I feel so boring, because they're like, "Oh yeah, we planned all these places to go for food," and I'm like, "Oh, I don't really want to eat loads," and they're like, "Well, what we're gonna do then?" Like,
it's kind of sad, but also true that like most social things sort of revolve around food.
yeah, food or drink. It's
Yeah.
really tricky.
But I think that's often times of your life as well. Like, you're saying like, oh, we used to always meet up and eat loads. It's the same with like, you meet up with uni mates. It's like, oh, we always used to like go out and drink loads. But
Yeah.
really, it's like, well, I don't think that's as much of like a fitness thing as like we probably should have all grown up by now. Like,
Yeah,
we all have
exactly.
can't really just go out and same with like the lifestyle at uni, like, or maybe when you're younger, you can sort of eat a lot and get away with it
Yeah,
because you're
exactly.
probably, or I know when I was at uni, I was playing X amount of sport. I was walking to uni in and out like a couple times a day, all this stuff. And then people attribute, their weight gain to the fact that they're aging and their metabolism's slowing down. No, it's the fact you've got a sedentary job now and you expend far less energy. And yeah, you can't eat the same crap that you ate at
Yeah,
uni.
exactly. Exactly. And it's all about growing up, and it's the same with money. You've also probably, people have got mortgages and, car payments and stuff now, so they can't only spend their cash on alcohol and food. So I guess that's the thing, that when you meet up with uni mates, everyone wants it to be an excuse to kind of go back in time and like relive their youth for a weekend or whatever. But I guess it's just the reality of it is that, people change, life changes, and there is a reason that those changes happen, because you know, they're for the better, not because, you know, you're just being tied down to all these awful things. Sometimes it is genuine, healthy lifestyle change as well.
I agree. Right, so do we have any questions before we sort of log off here? People are saying, oh, hey, Tom, we were actually just discussing you the other day.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, well, that's quite, yeah, so Mike had, how many people did you say? Like 4 people that he wanted to get on a podcast, and Tom Wright was in there.
Yeah. I think Tom Wright has like, I've been very interested following his social media stuff recently, because he's someone who's obviously done a lot of fitness related things, and it's kind of, I really enjoy watching people's kind of trajectories of going from like different ways of kind of managing lifestyles, like going from kind of different extremes, I suppose, to kind of getting balance, etc. And it's been interesting watching Tom kind of present a slightly different aspect of the fitness industry and moving off away from it kind of in a different direction. And I really love
you turn back towards the fitness industry. But we should get him on our soon-to-be podcast and find out exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, good idea.
But I've always been a big fan of Tom.
Yeah.
Great discussion, guys. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Someone says, I've met really close friends from the gym, some that I probably would have never met. And
yeah, same.
And from completely different areas of life that, you know, like you're saying, like you'd maybe not normally bump into.
Yeah, totally. I mean, our gym is a particularly community-based gym, and they placed a huge emphasis on kind of the social aspect of it. And I remember going to an open day before the gym opened, and Jamie Alderton, who runs it, was saying how he wanted to create an environment where people trained together and people became friends with each other and drank coffee together. And you know, he was saying if you're the kind of person who wants to just come in and stick your headphones on and not talk to anybody, then this isn't going to be the gym for you. And I remember listening to this speech going, oh yeah, great idea, mate, but that's never going to happen in real life. Like, I've never been to a gym before where, you know, I've been to the gym I was at before and the one before that. You see the same people 3 times a week because they'd always train at the same time as you, and you would never do more than kind of raise an eyebrow and say hi. And then suddenly I joined this gym and it's massive.
So say I see the same people, like you're saying, in the gym all the time, don't really say hi to them, like kind of give them a nod, whatever. But if I see them outside of the gym, or, you know, you like then meet them in like a different place or like a night out, or maybe even just in Tesco, they're like, oh, hey.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we know each other from the gym. I'm like, I see you every day and you don't say anything ever. Yeah. But as soon as you're like out with that usual environment that you see them, they're like, oh yeah, like.
It's super weird, isn't it? Because my biggest drawback at the gym was I didn't really train with anyone else. None of my friends really went to the gym. So I'd kind of go to the gym, feel really awkward. And I'd kind of look around at all these other people like training with their mates and stuff. And I just think, God, how much fun would it be to be training with your mates? And, you know, yet I couldn't bring myself to go and say to people, oh, do you want to be my friend? Because that's weird. But actually, that's all that everyone really wants. And then now, kind of once you're then in that environment where, you know, because we started doing classes and stuff like that, and everyone chatted afterwards and instantly just became really good mates with each other. And now we all train with each other at different times, and it's great.
Yeah. It is an interesting thing, though, isn't it? And then a lot as well have said, less so about me, but like one of my friends is known as Angry Squatter. And basically she has really bad resting bitch face, but she's like one of my best mates. But a lot of people in the gym like know her as this. And it's purely because like if you're on your own, you're not going to be like sat on the bench press like
yeah, exactly.
Have like resting bitch face because you're there on your own. And it's a bit different if you're with mates. You can sort of like have a little bit like, oh, they look friendly, like a friendly group, they're all having a laugh or they're chatting. Whatever, but you're not just going to sit there on your own smiling at people because that's weird.
It's weird. I just brilliantly, Stefan from my gym has just commented that I drink more coffee than I actually train, which isn't very kind, but is probably also true. But I think it's important to establish those social situations before you then get involved in training.
Oh yeah, Rianne says that she's basically a celebrity around Leeds.
Brilliant.
Can I feel your arms? Do you have abs? Huh, nice, nice. Yeah, it is a funny one.
Sorry, I'm just reading then James Lawson's comment as well. And Fitch Fitness. Hello, Fitch Fitness. And James. It wasn't me at Creams. I don't think I've ever been to Creams, actually, James. Maybe that's one for the list.
Someone says I better stop randomly smiling at people in gyms then.
Maybe that's the way forward. Maybe we should just be encouraging people to just say hello to people, because what's the worst that can happen? They'll think you're a weirdo. But actually, like...
This is the typical thing that will happen. You'll just smile at someone and they'll be like, I've got a boyfriend.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe just...
Not by the boyfriend who's watching.
Maybe just train on your own. Maybe just accept a life of solitude, or join a really cool gym where people chat to each other and go to classes. Classes, I think, are quite good for creating that community, because you can't really help but bond with people over having just done the same thing together, and you often get made to go in pairs. That's always my least favorite thing about any class, is when they go, oh, pair up. And I have flashbacks to back at school of being like, oh, no one's going to want to go with me. This is going to be really embarrassing. I'm just going to keep my head down and just go with the last person who's got no partner. But yeah.
Yeah, that is awkward. And then, oh, wait, there's an odd number.
Yeah. It's all right. I'll go by myself. I'm fine. I'm happy going by myself. I'm all right about it. That's what I always do. It's always.
I'll just leave. It's fine.
Yeah, I'll just go home. I didn't want to be here anyway.
Yeah, I'm gone. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, smile and make the world a better place. I like that.
Good. Right. Well, that's a nice note to leave it on, I think.
Yeah, I agree. This has been really fun.
Oh, wait. What do you do when people in the